A vote to move that bill forward is set for noon Eastern today. After that vote, we expect the Senate to recess to attend their weekly party caucus lunches and then back to legislative work at 2:15 Eastern. And now live Senate coverage here on C-SPAN 2.
The Senate will come to order. The chaplain, Dr. Barry Black, will lead the Senate in prayer.
Let us pray. O God, our refuge and strength, you have called our senators to this place and time. May they be mindful of the responsibility to be faithful stewards of their vocation. Protect them in the hour of temptation so that they will exercise self-control and glorify you. Lord, use their talents and skills to strengthen our nation and to bless the people of our world. Infuse them with such a spirit of gratitude that they will offer thanks to you by living according to your will. Remind them that you are with them and will guide them. We pray in your sovereign name. Amen.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will read a communication to the Senate.
Washington, D.C., May 8, 2012. To the Senate. On the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable Christopher A. Coons, a senator from the state of Delaware, to perform the duties of the chair. Signed, Daniel K. Inouye, President Pro Tempore.
Mr. President. Majority Leader.
We're now considering a motion to proceed to the Stop Student Loan Interest Rate Hike. The time until noon will be divided between the two parties. The majority will control the first, Republicans the second 30 minutes. At noon, there will be a cloture vote on the motion to proceed to S-2343, which is the Stop Student Loan Interest Rate Hike Act. Following that vote, the Senate will recess until 2:15 to allow for their weekly caucus meetings. There are 4 bills that the desk due for a second reading. I'd ask the chair to move these forward.
Clerk will read the title of the bills for the second time.
H.R. 2050, an act to authorize the continued use of certain water diversions located on National Forest System land and so forth and for other purposes. H.R. 2240, an act to authorize exchange of land and so forth and for other purposes. H.R. 4628, an act to extend student loan interest rates for undergraduate federal direct Stafford loans. H.R. 4849, an act to direct the Secretary of the Interior to issue commercial use authorizations to commercial stock operators and so forth and for other purposes.
Mr. President, I now object to further proceedings with respect to each of these bills.
The objection is heard. And the measures will be placed on the calendar.
I now ask unanimous consent that Joe Mahoney, a fellow in Senator Bingham's office, be granted floor privileges during consideration of today's bill.
Without objection.
Mr. President, over the last 2 weeks, Senate Republicans have repeatedly claimed they support efforts to keep interest rates low for federal student loans. In fact, the presidential nominee, Mr. Romney, has said the same. There's only one way to prove this. That's end the needless filibuster of Democrats' plan to stop rates from doubling this summer. Democrats have proposed legislation to freeze student loan interest rates at current levels for a year without adding a single penny to the deficit. Our plan creates no new taxes. Our plan, Mr. President, creates no new taxes. It would simply stop wealthy Americans from avoiding the taxes they already owe. Our legislation would prevent 7 million students from paying $1,000 more over the life of their loans. Yet Republicans appear poised to filibuster this worthy measure. They're sending a clear message that they'd rather protect wealthy tax dodgers, that's what they are, and help promising students achieve their dreams of higher education. Republicans will try to explain away their no votes by claiming they oppose the way the legislation is paid for. They propose radical cuts to a preventive health fund instead, a proposal they know that we oppose. Mr. President, we have already cut that plan to the bare bones. We've used this on other programs to cut, and we've done it in the right way. Any fluff that was in that program is gone. Some say we've cut far too much out of it. The Prevention Fund is, as we speak, helping states fight chronic illnesses such as heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes. These diseases that I've just mentioned caused, of all the deaths in America today, 7 out of 10 are caused from heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes. And what they want to use to pay for this student loan interest rate stabilization is programs that do just that, stop these diseases from going forward. It's a preventive program. And, Mr. President, these diseases are responsible for 3/4 of the nation's health care spending. So anything we can do to cut those back is the right thing to do. Common sense indicates that treating 26 million Americans with diabetes. Mr. President, around America today, 26 million people are taking medicine for diabetes. And that's sad to say, including a rapidly growing number of children. And these 26 million people use up so much of our health care delivery system. And diabetes increases the risk of developing other costly, life-threatening chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, kidney failure, and many other maladies that come from simply having diabetes. This prevention fund that the Republicans want to use to pay for this stabilization program with student loans also pays for successful tobacco cessation programs that avert billions of health care costs to treat emphysema, heart disease, cancer, among other things. And it finances immunizations for preventable childhood illnesses such as measles and whooping cough. Mr. President, these diseases are back because there's been too few immunizations. Last year, measles reached a 15-year high in our country. After nearly being wiped out in the 1950s, whooping cough has resurged. There have been major articles. I read one. It was stunning. As a kid, I took a whooping cough shot. I hadn't heard of it. It's back. This is a terrible disease that we now have in America. It's, as I say, it's come back. Violent coughs can go on for as much as 6 months. People die as a result of coughing so hard. We've had a real bad outbreak of whooping cough in California, and the disease in America has reached its highest rates in 50 years. And the Republicans want to cut back on these immunizations. That's not a good idea, Mr. President. These diseases that I've talked about are completely preventable with the kind of proper immunizations the Prevention Fund supports. Yet Republicans want to axe investments in preventive care that save the country money and save lives. We've already made cuts. I've indicated that. Difficult cuts to this program. We cannot afford to make more drastic cuts which would put Americans' health at risk. But while we do not support Republicans' plan to cut programs that combat diabetes, heart disease, cancer, we're happy if they want a vote on some alternative. But let us get on this bill. If Republicans would stop filibustering our legislation, and in this instance to keep student loan interest rates low, if they want some other way to pay for it, let's take a look at it. They're going to let them offer that. The stakes of this debate are too high to let partisanship get in the way. The average student graduates with $25,000 in debt. As I indicated here on the floor yesterday, people who are running up these loans do it because they want to. Education is so important in our country. Many young people are putting off buying a house, starting a family, or opening a business because they're saddled with these crushing student loan debts. We don't need to load that burden even more. Democrats are determined to protect millions of students from increasing interest rates, almost 30,000 in Nevada alone. If Republicans truly share our goal, they'll vote to advance this legislation today.
Mr. President.
The Republican leader.
It's not exactly a state secret that Senate Democrats have turned the Senate floor into an extension of the Obama campaign over the past few months. And that what happens here these days has a lot more to do with what some political consultant out in Chicago thinks is good for the president's reelection than what the American people think would be good for the country as a whole. Separation of powers notwithstanding, the Democrats' top message man recently admitted that Senate Democrats and the White House are, quote, attached at the hip, end quote. Meaning, of course, that the Senate has ceased to be a place where problems are resolved. It's become instead a place where Democrats produce campaign material. Today's vote on the student loan rates is a perfect example of this cynical election year strategy in action. Rather than working with Republicans to help young people in this country weather the effects of the Obama economy, Democrats have sought to distract them from it. Never mind the fact that Democratic leaders supported the bill that will cause interest rates on certain college loans to spike on July 1st. Never mind the fact that President Obama was so concerned about this issue when this legislation passed that he didn't even show up for the vote. Never mind the fact that Democrats have known this problem was coming for literally years, but deliberately waited until 2 months before their temporary fix was due to expire to do anything about it. Never mind any of that. What matters now for Democrats is that they find a way to drive a wedge between Republicans and a constituency that they're looking to court ahead of the November elections. That's what today's vote is all about for them. For Republicans, well, we don't think young people should have to suffer any more than they already are as a result of this president's failure to turn the economy around. We just disagree that we should pay for a fix by diverting $6 billion from Medicare and raising taxes on the very businesses we're counting on to hire these young people. But as I said, solving the problem isn't what this is about for Senate Democrats and the White House that they're coordinating with. Finding a solution to this problem actually isn't difficult at all. What's difficult is getting Democrats to agree to it in an election year. For them, it's about putting the other party on the spot. Look, Republicans have a solution to this problem. We've asked for a vote on it. Even Senator Harkin, who opposes our approach, thinks we should at least get that vote. But following the President's lead, Senate Democrat leaders have decided to put the finger of blame instead on us instead of solving the problem, which, of course, is completely ridiculous. I mean, here we are, nearly 3.5 years into this President's first term. He's still blaming his predecessor. He got nearly everything he wanted for 2 years. He borrowed and spent trillions. He took over the student loan industry. He took over health care. He imposed his regulations. It's his economy now. It's his economy now. Yet, he's still blaming others. Well, my view is if you're going to ask the American people to take responsibility for their actions, pay their fair share, and play by the rules, it's time the President led by example and did the same. 3 months ago, the President told the American people that it's time to apply the same rules from top to bottom. The President said no bailouts, no handouts, and no cop-outs. An American built to last, he said, insists on responsibility from everybody. Yet day after day, week after week, what do we get from Democratic leaders in the Senate and from the President himself? But more cop-outs. Here's the real issue behind today's votes. Right now, more than half of college graduates cannot find a decent job. More than half. Close to half of them are back at home living with their parents. As a Wall Street Journal article from late last year put it, the U.S. labor market may be in a malaise, but young adults are in a crisis. The real solution, of course, pro-growth policies that make it easier for U.S. businesses to hire. But in the short term, Republicans are ready to offer temporary relief, just as we did for working Americans early this year by extending the payroll tax holiday. To pay for this fix, Republicans propose to end an Obamacare slush fund that Democrats and the President himself have already drawn from to cover other expenses. This is a pay-for Democrats and the President have already used. This is perfectly reasonable. It's a solution to a problem both parties want to address. It passed the House with bipartisan support. If Democrats want to solve the problem, they should embrace it too, or at the very least offer a bipartisan solution of their own. The White House has done neither. Now, the real enemy of recent college graduates is this President's economic policies. Until Democrats are willing to admit that, we'll keep falling behind. And the real losers will be the young people. We should be working together on a bipartisan basis to help. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved, and under the previous order, the Senate will resume consideration of the motion to proceed to S-2343, which the clerk will now report.
Motion to proceed to consider calendar number 365 S-2343, a bill to amend the Higher Education Act of 1965 to extend the reduced interest rate for federal direct Stafford loans and for other purposes.
Under the previous order, the time until 12 noon will be equally divided and controlled between the two leaders or their designees, with the majority controlling the first 30 minutes and the Republicans controlling the second 30 minutes.
Mr. President.
Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, we are here today because unless Congress acts, interest rates for many of our students, over 100,000 of them in my home state of Washington, is going to double in just 55 days. On July 1st, the law we passed that held rates on federally subsidized Stafford loans to 3.4% will end, and rates are going to jump overnight to 6.8%. That is going to add $1,000 to the cost of loans for these young people. And it's going to be another huge strain for students and families who are already fighting to afford college and still struggling in this tough economy. Mr. President, this isn't just an abstract issue for me. For me, it's very personal. Pell Grants and student loans were what allowed my 6 brothers and sisters and I to go to college when my dad got sick and had to leave his job. They were what made college affordable for us, and they were what allowed each one of us to pursue careers and give back to our communities. Because our government was there for us at a very tough time for us, those 7 kids in my family grew up to be a firefighter, a lawyer, a computer programmer, a sports writer, a homemaker, a middle school teacher, and a United States Senator. Pretty good investment by our country. And Mr. President, our family story is not unique. In fact, last week I went across my home state of Washington listening to student after student describe the real-life impacts this interest rate hike will have on their livelihood. I heard from Dora Hernandez. She's a first-generation college student at Washington State University in Vancouver. Dora became a mother at the age of 18, 2 months after she graduated from high school. She worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time to support herself and her child. It was at one of those jobs, working the concession stand on a college campus, that inspired her to improve her own life by earning a post-secondary degree. She received some financial aid, but she will still have $29,000 in student loans to pay back when she graduates this month, she told me proudly, standing right in front of that concession stand she used to work at. She has no job lined up yet. And she said, "I was flabbergasted to find out how much student loan debt I've accrued. Honestly, I'm scared. I hope Congress finds a way to keep interest rates on student loans down for students like me." And then there was Diane Robinson. She was a 24-year-old single mom who told me she decided to enroll at Clark College after a divorce left her with absolutely nothing. She told me, "I would not be here without these loans. It would be impossible." And through her tears, Diane told me that she was raised to repay her debts and worries about her looming student loan payments every single day. She said, "If there is an increase on student loan interest rates, it will compromise my quality of life. Repaying that debt I have accrued will be essential for me to have a happy future." Mr. President, for millions of Americans, affordable college has been the ticket to the middle class. And for millions of small business owners, finding local workers with education and skills they need has been what's allowed them to expand and grow in our communities. We cannot afford to let that slip away. We can't allow access to college to become unattainable for so many of our families. As we all know, college costs are rising too quickly right now anyway. In fact, since 1985, the cost of a college education has increased by 559% because states have had to cut back their support for higher education and operating costs have increased. In fact, student loan debt has spiked, and for the first time in U.S. history, the national student debt burden has surpassed $1 trillion. That is more than the total amount of credit card debt. So the last thing our students right now need, the very last thing, is for interest rates on this critical loan program to double. We cannot afford to allow that to happen. At a time when mortgage rates are under 4%, we should be doing everything possible to keep rates low for students today. And in fact, we should be investing in our future and trying to get more high school students to continue their education. We should not be doubling interest rates on a critical loan program that students count on. It does not make sense. Mr. President, the Stop the Student Loan Interest Rate Hike bill that is before us is a common-sense measure that will prevent a rate hike on more than 7.4 million college students. And it pays for it by closing a tax loophole that allows certain wealthy professionals to dodge paying their fair share of taxes. So I hope that we can move to this today. And I just want to add, Mr. President, it's not just like the students that I just talked about, Dora and Diane, who are speaking out against this rate hike. In fact, if our Republican colleagues do decide to block our ability to go to this bill today, I know that students all across our country are going to continue to make their voices heard about this, whether it's in person or in letters or on Twitter or on Facebook. And we will bring those stories right here to the United States Senate. Over and over again, we'll bring them until Republicans see that the students of America are not going to take no for an answer on this critical issue that it will affect their lives far into the future. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the same legislation. I appreciate the work of Senator Murray and Senator Klobuchar. I introduced this legislation with Senator Harkin of Iowa and Senator Reid of Rhode Island, and just in the last couple of weeks I've been to Cleveland Cuyahoga County Community College, the community college in Cleveland, Ohio State University, Wright State University near Dayton, and the University of Cincinnati, and there were student government people in both political parties. There is virtually, it seems, universal support among students for this legislation. We have no business letting the interest rate double. The vote that will take place in less than an hour gives us an opportunity to help students in a huge way. The average Ohio graduate of a four-year university has a $27,000 student debt. And if we're going to pile more money on that debt by allowing the interest rate to go from 3.4 to 6.8%, it means that student's less likely to be able to buy a house, less likely to be able to probably start a family, less likely to be able to start a business, and it just saps wealth from our community. If we can keep this interest rate at 3.4%, it will pay dividends much more than the cost of this. I would just close, because Senator Klobuchar is next, and I want to give her the full time that she was promised. This was a bipartisan arrangement. Back in 2007, when Senator Klobuchar and I were in our first year in the Senate, President Bush signed legislation brought forward, passed by a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House with Republican support, so I had broad bipartisan support to lock in 3.4% for 5 years. Why are people making it partisan now? The fact is we should pass this legislation today. We should pay for it in a way by closing these tax loopholes that it's called the Newt Gingrich-John Edwards tax loophole, where both of them, Newt Gingrich a Republican, John Edwards a Democrat, in their private sector lives have legally been able to avoid tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. Lobbying firms, consulting firms, all have used this loophole. Governor Romney wanted to close this loophole when he was governor of Massachusetts. It's something we should move forward, put the partisanship aside, pass this. This is good for individual students, just like the GI Bill after World War II. It was good for millions of individual students, and look what it did for our society as a whole. It made us a richer country, a more prosperous country, a more egalitarian country. What's not to like about that? That's why we should pass this legislation. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The Senator from Minnesota.
Mr. President, I rise today to speak in support of the Stop the Student Loan Interest Rate Hike. And I want to first acknowledge my colleague, Senator Brown of Ohio, for his leadership. They have Ohio State. We have the University of Minnesota. And both of us have met with students from these states who have told us firsthand what they are experiencing every single day. I've talked to students at the University of Minnesota and Minnesota State in Mankato, where my father-in-law taught for many years, and they've told me about their own situations where they may have 5 siblings, and there's absolutely no way their parents, both of whom are working, can afford to send their kids to college without loans. I've talked to a young woman in Mankato whose mom was helping with the tuition, and then suddenly her mom lost her job and she couldn't help anymore. Parents who've gone out on disability who can no longer help anymore. So we have to ask ourselves as a country, when those things happen, when you have a student who may be the first in their family to ever go to college, are we just going to turn our backs on them and say, no, actually, we don't want you to go to college? Well, that's not going to work. in our country. That is not going to work because in Minnesota, the numbers just came out. Up to 2018, all the new jobs created, 70% of them, 70% are going to require some kind of post-secondary education. Half of them are going to require 1- to 2-year degrees. The other half are going to require 4-year degrees or more. We know those facts. We know how we're going to be able to compete in this world, and that's by having educated workers. So to do that, we cannot turn our backs on the students who may be in a situation where they can work part-time. There was one girl I met, Mr. President, at the University of Minnesota who is working 50 hours, paid jobs, 50 hours every week, in addition to the class load, in addition to going to school. These students are working hard, and we must make sure that they're able to complete their college, complete their degrees. College tuition and fees have been rising more rapidly than household income over the last 2 decades, and it is becoming more and more difficult for students and their families to afford these costs. We know that student loan debt has reached record levels. College seniors owed an average of $25,000 in student loan debt upon graduating in 2010, with a total loan debt reaching $1 trillion. This is what we're dealing with. I know when I had student loans, I paid them off, and Mr. President, you'll be happy to know is that I met my husband right after I had paid off my loans, and he still owed over $20,000 in student loans, but I married him anyway. So I have had firsthand experience with what it's like to pay off these loans, but never in these kinds of amounts that our students today are facing. And while it's normally a good thing to be above average, my home state is unfortunately above average in student loan debt. We rank 4th in the nation. The average Minnesota student graduates from college with more than $29,000 in loan debt. As college costs skyrocket and student loan debt climbs, we have to consider what this means for students today and what effect this will have on our future. At a time when our global economy, as I mentioned, demands more than our workforce, we must focus on the foundation of our future prosperity, that is education, particularly in science, technology, engineering, and math. And to advance in those fields, you need at least a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. We know that. And we must do more to expand higher education opportunities and make college affordable for our students. It's one of the best investments that we can make in the long-term success for America, and that's because education just doesn't pay off for students, it also pays off for our country in the form of a skilled workforce and a competitive economy. We've seen this in my own state, where we are home to one of the best skilled, most educated workforces in the country. And that is, Mr. President, the reason that we are first per capita for Fortune 500 companies. I can tell you it is not the weather, okay? These companies did not elect to move to Minnesota and stay in Minnesota because of our winters. They came in large part because of the educated workforce, because we had people that could do the jobs and invent the things. A recent book came out and showed that at 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, 3M, they have as many inventions as they have employees. They average 1 invention for each employee. That is a true fact. And you look at the numbers, why is that? Because we had the educated workforce to fill those jobs. We also know that students today, both those that are in college and those who are considering college, face many unexpected obstacles, including the pressure to pay for higher education. As I mentioned, when I visited students at the University of Minnesota and also Minnesota State at Mankato, I heard firsthand about their experiences and how hard they were working to get those degrees. These students face many hardships and many sacrifices, but they continue to move forward, and they're determined to get their education. The reality is that students can work, save money, and be totally responsible about saving for and paying for college, but life can bring unexpected challenges, and students need help through access to low-interest loans. And that is all we're talking about here, Mr. President, low-interest loans. Interest rates on Stafford student loans are set to double from 3.4% to 6.8% on July 1st of this year. And unless Congress intervenes, 7 million students will see higher interest rates on their student loans. A dramatic increase in the interest rate doesn't make sense at a time when the economy is still struggling to recover, students are facing ever higher college costs, and young graduates are having a hard time finding jobs. I know how valuable these loans are to students, and that's why I'm a co-sponsor of the Student Loan Affordability Act, which would prevent the rate hike and ensure that college remains affordable. That would affect, Mr. President, this doubling of the interest rate. In my state alone, 200,000 students. 200,000 students. Think what we want those 200,000 students to do. We want those students to be out there inventing the next Post-it note for 3M. We want those students to be out there inventing the next pacemaker. We want those students to be out there inventing the next Google. That is what this is about. That is how our economy has run. We're a country that must make things, invent things, export to the world, and the only way we do that is with affordable education. I've heard from hundreds of Minnesotans who say that the costs are putting a strain on their families and making college seem out of reach. This is simply unacceptable, and we must act now. I know this firsthand, as I explained, Mr. President, not only with what I've seen in my state, with what I've seen of the interrelationship between education and business, but in my own life. My grandpa was an iron ore miner. He worked 1,500 feet under the ground in the mines in northern Minnesota. He never graduated from college. He never even graduated from high school. And he saved money in a coffee can in the basement of their little house, this small house where they literally only had a shower in the basement. And he saved money in that coffee can to send my dad and his brother to college. So they were the first in that family with Slovenian immigrants, the first to go to college. They went to college. My uncle became an engineer living in Rochester, Minnesota, and my dad went to the two-year junior college, got a degree in northern Minnesota from what's now Vermilion Community College. He then went on to the University of Minnesota, got his journalism degree, joined the AP, then went on to the Minneapolis Star and Tribune, where he became an award-winning journalist. He traveled the world, Mr. President. He got to interview everyone from Ginger Rogers to Mike Ditka to Ronald Reagan. That's my dad's life, and it all started because his parents believed in education, but most importantly, his country believed in education, the United States of America. That's what this issue is about. It's about progress, it's about families, it's about moving this country forward. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The senator from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just passed the deadline for students to decide where they're going to college this fall, and this is one of the biggest financial decisions that students will ever make. Nationally, student loan debt is over $1 trillion now. It's higher than credit card debt. And over 60% of the class of 2010 graduated with outstanding student loans, college graduates. In Minnesota, we're fourth in the country in the level of debt that college graduates take with them. It's $29,000. This is hurting us as a nation in competition with other countries. It wasn't too many years ago when the United States was #1 in the world in the percentage of its adult population that had graduated from college. Now we're something like 16th. That's going to hurt us. We have to do something about student debt. Behind every one of these statistics there are stories. I had students from the board of MnSCU, the Minnesota organization of colleges and universities, and I had them in my office, and there must have been about 15 or 20 of them. I said to them, how many of you work at least 10 hours a week while going to school? All of them. How many of you work 20 hours a week? Most of them. How many of you work at least 30 hours a week while going to school? A lot of them. How many of you work 40 hours a week while going to school? How many of you work full-time while going to school? A few of them, a number of them. That's no way to go to school. Time after time when I talk to kids, I hear their stories. Mike Flannery is a graduate of Hennepin Technical College. He was forced to take out private loans because federal loans were not enough to pay for his college costs. He graduated from his associate's program with a total debt of $34,750 from his associate's program. Michael is now struggling to deal with this massive debt loan and told me that he will likely have to drop out of his summer coursework due to college costs. Currently owes $45,250, still working towards his bachelor's degree. No wonder it takes our students 6 years to graduate often, or longer. College, it's now not really a question. You have to graduate from college, or at least get a 2-year degree to get a good job in this country, a good paying job. In the next 7 years, 70% of jobs in Minnesota will require some type of post-secondary credential. Yet right now, only 40% of working-age Minnesotans have one. If we are going to compete with other countries, we've got to do something about this. And what can we do? We've got to get long-term costs under control. There's a lot to do there, but in the short term, that's the long term. But in the short term, at least we should do no harm. And on January 1st, Stafford loans, subsidized Stafford loans, are set to go double, from 3.4 to 6.8%. That's unconscionable. Now, this legislation was written in 2007 and said it would double. If you look at interest rates, what they've done from 2007 to now, they've just shot down. This makes no sense whatsoever. This is going to affect over 7.5 million students nationwide, over 200,000 students in Minnesota. If we fail to take action, this will cost every student in Minnesota about $1,000 in increased loans for each year of college over the cost of their lives. That's money. That's real money. Now, we have an offset here that we have trying to do here. And what it is about S-corps. I don't want to get into the details of this. Basically what it is let's say you have a S-corp and you're a businessman. And you, at the end of the thing, you take your salary and profits. And most honest businessmen pay taxes on all of that, and including their withholding tax, their FICA. So you pay FICA on $107,000 approximately, your withholding tax. That pays into Social Security and Medicare. That's what FICA is. Well, there's others who take advantage of a loophole. It's a loophole. It's legal. So let's say you're a businessman and you make $300,000. Well, you pay yourself a salary of $40,000 and you pay your FICA on that. Then at the end of the year, you take out the profits. Now, these profits aren't capital gains. They're paid as taxes. You pay them as taxes. This is as clearly a loophole as anything that exists in our tax code. This is exactly the type of loopholes that everyone, not just our friends on the other side of the aisle, but that we are talking about taking out of the tax code so that we can maybe not raise marginal rates as much. Or on the other side, they said, well, we could take out the loopholes and lower. If you can't get rid of this loophole, there's no loophole you can get rid of. This is so obviously a wrong-headed loophole. That extra money that they take at the end of the year, it's not considered capital gains. It's income. They pay the top rate on that income. if it's above the top rate. And this would affect only, this offset would affect only people making over $250,000. So we need to pass this legislation, and this loophole is what we need to close it, because it just makes sense. It's a loophole that I don't think anyone can really defend. I really don't. I'd love to hear someone try to defend this one. And again, I've heard over and over and over again, we just have to close some loopholes, these crazy loopholes. This is the one we need to do, so our kids can have a manageable debt, so they're not paying exorbitant costs on their debt. You know, we got to be realistic about all of this, about what it takes to make it in this country. You need a college education, or you need some post-secondary education. We have a skills gap in this country that we need to close. And kids are borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And we're doing this generation a disservice. And we gotta look at reality. You know, I heard Mitt Romney the other day in Ohio, and he said to the kids, well, look, you take a chance on yourself. Borrow money from your parents to start a business. That is not what's happening in this country. Kids aren't accumulating an average of $29,000 in debt and still able to borrow from their parents. They would, if they could borrow from their parents, they wouldn't have an average of $29,000 in debt. They'd be borrowing from their parents. The reality is that we are putting a burden on our children that we shouldn't be putting on them. And we should close this loophole that there is no rhyme or reason for, so that our kids can be paying, these students can be paying a reasonable interest rate and not some exorbitant interest rate. This is just common sense. It's just common sense. And I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to vote for this bill, and then we can move on to some other things. Thank you. I would suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Mr. Speaker.
The senator from Nevada.
Thank you. I ask that a quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in support of efforts to prevent an increase in student loan rates. For millions of Americans, education is the key to success and a better future for themselves and for their families. Workers with a bachelor's degree today earn about 70% more each year than those with only a high school diploma. We all want a better life for our children and for our grandchildren. And for many of them, a college education is part of achieving that goal. However, higher education carries an increasingly substantial price tag. One of my children has already completed her higher education. Both of my sons are currently in college, and my youngest is preparing for her post-high school education. So I know firsthand the financial strain on both the college students and their families. The inflation-adjusted cost of college has almost tripled over the last 25 years, while median family income over the same period of time has risen only about 10%. Fees keep rising rapidly, soaring 8.3% in the last year for public universities and 4.5% for private institutions. In 2009, more than half of all public college graduates were in debt, with an average loan burden of nearly $20,000. For private college graduates, the percentage and amount of debt is even greater. The loan burden itself is substantial, and the last thing graduates need to worry about is high interest rates on these loans. I was proud to vote for the initial efforts to keep student loan interest rates low back when I was serving in the House in 2007. Now I'm a proud co-sponsor of the Interest Rate Reduction Act, which has been offered by my friend from Tennessee, Mr. Alexander. This legislation prevents student loans from doubling from 3.4% to 6.8%, and I truly hope Congress will be able to come together with a bipartisan agreement soon to prevent this rate increase from going into effect on July 1st. While student loan rates should be addressed, I'm even more worried about the overall economic climate facing recent college grads. Recent reports found that more than half of the bachelor degree holders under the age of 25 last year, which was 1.5 million young Americans, were jobless or underemployed. Of the 1.5 million languishing in the job market, half were underemployed. These young would-be professionals are either unemployed and unable to start paying their loans, or have a job that may only provide enough for them to barely scrape by paycheck by paycheck. Instead of becoming the workforce of the next generation, the majority of recent graduates are finding their personal lives and finances mired in this ailing economy. Parents who have been laid off or have seen their savings diminished have not been able to help their children through their education as they may have planned or wanted to. Our children and grandchildren are paying the price for Washington's failure to lead our nation out of this economic crisis. Addressing student loan rates is important, and we need to accomplish that work promptly. But our work for America's college students and recent graduates is far from over. Every day, Congress should be doing something to provide more stability and certainty for businesses so they will create jobs and hire these graduates. We need to pass a budget and review expiring tax provisions. We need to get bureaucratic red tape out of the way and let American job creators do what they do best. Let's not put off till tomorrow what we can do today to make sure that good-paying jobs will be available for graduates who have worked so hard to provide for a better future, and let's pass a bipartisan measure that keeps student interest rates low. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. President.
Will the senator suspend his request? Senator from Nebraska.
Mr. President, are we in a quorum call?
We are not, it having been suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to speak about the issue that is currently under debate, and that's the student loan interest rate. For many students across this great country, the month of May marks the end of a school year. And for some, it means graduating after years of hard work and moving on to another chapter in their life. Americans have always been people who celebrate hard work and the doors that hard work opens for all of us. And our country was founded on the promise that people could come here to find the opportunity to realize their dreams. So one of the most devastating consequences of the recent economy is that college students are beginning this new chapter of life in their lives when opportunities are harder and harder to come by. Sadly, today's college graduates are more likely to end up unemployed or underemployed and struggling with student loan debt at the same time. They're more likely to end up with those circumstances than they are to land their dream job. And unfortunately, college costs have been increasing faster than the cost of living. 65% of graduates who got a bachelor's degree in 2010 graduated with debt. So as our economy continues to lag, stopping interest rates on subsidized Stanford student loans from doubling could provide much-needed relief. That's why I am a co-sponsor of legislation introduced by my colleague, Senator Alexander, which extends the current 3.4% interest rate for an additional year. It needs to be done. It can't be denied that access to education is imperative to ensuring a prosperous future for Nebraska's young people and for all Americans. And it should be our goal to foster an economic atmosphere where jobs will flourish, our economy thrives, and opportunities abound for young people and, for that matter, for all Americans. That's why I'm so disappointed that today we will vote on a bill that takes such a different approach to paying for student loan interest rate extension. The bill we will vote on taxes small businesses and raids funds that would otherwise go to shore up the Social Security and Medicare trust funds. Providing relief for students, protecting seniors' benefits, and fueling our nation's job engine should not be mutually exclusive goals. We should not be pitting one sector of our population against another. And yet, that's what we will do later on today. This bill sacrifices one of those goals I just mentioned and puts another in jeopardy to achieve a third. And I believe that's counterproductive. Why? In part because the future of our young people is so dependent on the availability of jobs in America. This bill would raise taxes on job creators at a terrible time. The U.S. economy only grew by 1.7% in the last year, and our unemployment rate has been over 8% for now 39 consecutive months. Taxing job creators has a chilling effect on hiring. It really isn't straightforward to promise students the American dream while making it harder for them to get a job, often the first step toward realizing their dreams. The bill is also enormously unfair to seniors. By diverting tax revenues that would otherwise go to Social Security and Medicare, it ignores the warning flags that we just received yet again about these programs. A recent trustees report verifies that both of these programs are on unsustainable paths. Medicare's projected to be insolvent by 2024 and Social Security by 2033, two dates that are well within sight. But instead of helping to strengthen these programs for the future, this bill spends the money elsewhere. The legislation ignores reality, and sadly, that's been all too familiar. The health care law also siphoned funding from Medicare to the tune of $500 billion. This money was used to pay for new entitlements in the law, not to extend the life of Medicare. The law's supporters have sometimes claimed it somehow did both, that magically you could count the same dollar twice. But anyone who looked at that disagreed with it, and basic math tells us we can't save and spend the same dollar two times. That was just one of the many budget gimmicks that was used to mask the true cost of the health care bill. Student loans help shoulder the massive cost of the health care law as well. That law, interestingly enough, nationalized the student loan industry, generating $60 billion over the decade. That was according to the Congressional Budget Office. But instead of using that money to address the doubling of student loan interest rates that was on the horizon, Congress and the President spent a portion of that money to help pay for the health care law, simply amazing. It's just one more example of a government that claims to know best when their only remedy is to rob from Peter to pay Paul. Sadly, the misguided government solution we will vote on today will be counterproductive for our jobs.